Hello and welcome to another edition of MASCAC Student Athlete Spotlight, where each week I highlight an amazing student athlete from around the conference. I'm Emily Liu, MASCAC Assistant Commissioner, and speaking with me today is Ashleigh Catlett of Mass Maritime Volleyball. Thanks so much for being here today, Ashleigh.
Thank you.
All right, easy question right off the bat. Why volleyball? What was it that drew you to volleyball?
Um, I started I started playing volleyball in middle school. I wanted to play because exercise is like super important to me and my family. It always has been, and I needed like a second sport to keep me going in the off season for softball. I just happened to end up also falling in love with volleyball, so I kept with it.
All right, do you still play softball?
Yes.
Ah, dual sport athlete for the Buccaneers, huh? All right. So why Mass Maritime?
So I came to Mass Maritime for the Marine Science, Safety, and Environmental Protection degree because it's such a broad major with so many opportunities after leaving this school. Another factor in me choosing the school was the regiment. I wanted something more challenging that a normal school probably wouldn't give me, and I really like a structure-based schedule, so it was kind of perfect for me.
Were there any other schools you were looking at?
No, this one kind of ended up just being it at the end of the day. As soon as I took a tour on the campus, I was like, okay, this is my home.
Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful campus right there on the bay. Getting to watch the ships roll in, the ocean. Little chilly in the spring, but we'll take it. It's gorgeous. So
Yes.
I totally don't blame you for that. So why volleyball for Mass Maritime?
Well, my Mass Maritime volleyball journey is very interesting compared to others. So I actually had no intention on playing college volleyball when I first arrived here. I actually ended up joining the Mass Maritime volleyball team by knocking on the wrong door by chance. I was looking for a work study office to try and get a work study, but I ended up knocking on Coach Clark's door for the volleyball team. And I walk in and I'm like, is this for work study? And they're like, no, I'm the volleyball coach. So we started talking and I found out that I played volleyball for about like 8 years. And I was still hesitant on joining because at that point we didn't have our phones and anything for orientation. So I had no way to contact my mom, my family, hear anybody else's opinions. And so when we came back to the gym for like uniform distribution for regiment uniforms, I kept seeing Coach Clark and I was like, okay, it's a sign. I'll join. So I finally walked over to him one day and I was like, okay, I want to be on your team, which was super cool because that definitely does not happen at every other college, that opportunity. So knocking on the wrong door is how I got on the volleyball team. And it was the best wrong door I've ever walked through. So
All right. So Mass Maritime Volleyball had an extremely successful season. You all made your first MASCAC tournament since 2000, since 1996. Talk about that and just kind of what makes this team so special.
okay, so what made this team this year so special is that we all started off the season with one common goal, which was winning a conference game, because that has not been done in many, many years. I think early 2000s was the last time that that happened. And we ended up completing that against Salem State, I believe. And after we did that, it was just another goal happened of we need a second one to make the tournament. And then we actually ended up doing that. And then once we finally made the tournament, we were like, okay, let's go win the whole thing. And unfortunately, we ended up falling short the other night, but it doesn't matter because we all got there just because of the sheer grit and dedication from this group of girls this year of just showing up to practice every day and willing to grind for 2 hours straight every day. It was great.
All right, so you mentioned it briefly earlier, but you shared what your major is, what you're going to get your degree in. For those of us who aren't familiar with the regiment or Mass Maritime's degree options, can you give us a little more insight into what you're studying?
Yes. So I'm studying marine science, safety, and environmental protection. There's a whole bunch of things that I could do from that, to working like on a research vessel or being a like OSHA person at a safety construction site or being an environmental protection officer out for like a natural resources department or something. But me personally, I'm trying to still narrow down the list of what I would like to do because it's such a huge list to choose from. I know for a fact that I love the ocean. I grew up around the water. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay down in Maryland. So I grew up with a lot of boating and fishing. So I definitely need the water in my life, but I'm particularly interested in coral restoration. So I should probably end up seeing myself working with some little tiny corals in the future.
That is so extremely cool and interesting. And I have to ask a follow-up question though. How do you get to that point? How do you, like you said you grew up on the water, but like how do you get to that point where you're like, this is what I want to do for my job career path?
Well, my mom has always told me to do a job that doesn't feel like a job, do a job that I'm gonna love. I'm not gonna wake up and be like, oh, I have to go to work again. So, just knowing that I love the water and I love being out on it, with a career like this, I could potentially be out on the water at least 3 times a week.
It sounds like a perfect place for you. All right, so we've talked about it. No secret, Mass Maritime and the regiment, very strict. But what are some of your favorite parts about being part of Mass Maritime and the regiment and that lifestyle?
So my favorite part of Mass Maritime outside of the regiment would have to be being a part of the volleyball and softball team. Here I've met wonderful people who have helped me along on my college journey. And it's also an escape from the regiment at times too. Because sometimes you definitely just need that break. It's a good spot surrounded by wonderful young women who you can just breathe sometimes, which is also wonderful. For the regiment side, I'm in 7th Company, which is our band honor guard and drill company. I'm specifically a part of the honor guard, and I really enjoy doing this part of the regiment because it allows me to learn like hands-on leading, like in the moment. And we get to travel to pretty cool places around the East Coast while honoring America, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is very cool. Do you get to go on the ship this year?
I'll go on the ship next year for my concentration, but I'm not going on the ship this year.
Okay. All right. Good. You'll be back focusing on softball season then.
Yes.
All right, Ashley. So, been through those questions. Let's get to know you on a little kind of silly side, okay?
Okay.
All right. Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Duncan.
What's your go-to order?
Oh gosh. Probably like a lemonade.
Yeah. No coffee?
I'm not a big coffee drinker.
Okay. All right. Indoor or outdoor volleyball?
I've never played outdoor volleyball competitively, so I'm gonna have to say indoor volleyball.
Yeah, it's kind of hard running around in the sand. It's not easy. All right. Lunch with anyone. Who would it be and why?
If I had lunch with anybody, it would have to be my lovely roommate. Um, she is my ride or die, and she's always somebody that's fun to talk to.
You want to say her name? Give her a shout out on the interview?
Okay. Miss Mackenzie Champagne, I would love to have lunch with you.
Where would you go? Somewhere, hopefully, besides the cafeteria.
No, unfortunately, we'd be going to the mess deck.
All right, last one. Mass Maritime blue or gold?
Definitely the gold.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the prettier color.
All right, Ashley, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned next week for another edition of MASCAC Student Athlete Spotlight.